Hello everybody, welcome to another update on the stock screener. Today we're going to talk about Verde Agritech because they just released the new technical report, the pre-feasibility study. And I'm going to compare this new PFS with the old PFS. So as you can see on the chart, we have had higher lows and probably this is a little retracement for a new low and then it will probably break out. So let's take a look at the updates. I have compared the scenario of 23 million tons because that's most easy to compare because they're almost the same amount of tonnage and the mine life is also almost the same. So it's easier to compare. There's a lot of information in the feasibility study about micronutrients, about different scenarios, but let's make it easy and take one scenario. Okay, so these are the metrics. For the old feasibility study, we used a $250 per ton CFR Brazil price, and now the company thinks we can get a higher price, a 369. Sales price is the CFR price plus some of the transport costs and distribution costs. So that's 346, and here it's 539. Now, if we divide this number by 6, then you get the sales price for Verde product, and that's 57 and 89. So still higher than this, of course. And then from the sales price, we need to subtract the freight costs. And this is actually very important. The freight cost is the same. So there's no inflation. Maybe there is inflation, but they have been able to keep the freight cost at the same level, as you can see here. And that could be road improvement, supply chain efficiencies. They could also have been locating their plants on a more strategic location. So basically the freight cost is the same. Very good news. The freight cost, when you subtract this from this number, then you get 25, which is the FOB cost, FOB price. And that's the price without the freight costs. And this is the number that we need to use to calculate our revenue, our net revenue, without the freight costs included. And here we get 58. They also added a discount on this number to 48 in their calculations because they wanted to gain market share by adding some discount to it. So that's also good news because that gives us a more lowball number. So keep these two numbers in mind for later on. Now for the Capex, we already knew that the Capex has been more than halved from 350 to 130. So that's very good news. Well, a little bit of bad news is on the operating costs. We have seen inflation here from 200 to 255 operating costs, and that's $1 million per year. So that's about 15% higher. Yeah, 20%, 25% higher. But that's due to inflation, maybe also due to adding of micronutrients that all cost some money. Transport is here by railway, but now we are doing some road improvements, 30 kilometers of road to be built and rebuilt. So that's why our Capex is lower. This is, the next one is very good news because here they only start in 2031 with 25 million tons, but now they have given the go-ahead for 2025. You can read this in the feasibility study. They think that they can get to 20 million tons in 2025. That's better than I expected. So in 2024, they will do 10 million. And 1 year later, they will go to 23 million. So this is hyper growth. So this is a very good number that we found in the feasibility study. And here we see this is the same. Okay, so basically these are the numbers. And let's go more into details now. So the freight cost didn't change, and here's the evidence on that. You can see here the freight from mine to producer is $31, and the FOB price was the CFR price minus the freight cost, and that will give us the $25 FOB price. Now in the new feasibility study, you can see here the freight costs from different sites, regions. And here you can see the weighted average is also $31. See this? It's the same. And then here the FOB price is then 58. And that's the number that we gave here, 58 and 25. So this is the evidence that freight costs didn't change for this scenario. Very good news. Operating costs went up 25%. And you can see that here, annual operating costs. So this is for 2017. Operating costs were 200,000 apparently. Times 1,000 is 200 million. From year 7, because that's when they started production of 25 million per year. So it's about 200 million operating costs. And now in the new feasibility study, we have 250. So that's 25% higher. Okay. That's because of inflation. We all know that there is a lot of inflation on equipment, on labor. So actually 25% is not that high, right? Now let's go to the NPV calculations. This is the formula. I'm just going to refresh your memory. What is the NPV? NPV is actually just the cash flow that is coming in, but you need to discount it. So you need to divide it by 1 plus discount rate, which is 8% in our case. And then T is the time of the cash flow. For example, if we are at year 1, then this would be 1, and this would be the cash flow that is coming in at year 1. So cash flow that comes in at year 1 is much more important than cash flow that comes in at year 30. Why? Because if you get the cash flow right now at year 1, then you can do a lot with it. You can put it in the bank, you can get interest on it, you can loan it out, lend it out, you can build projects. So the cash flow that comes in at year 1 is worth more. So then you get here 1.08 times 1, to the 1th, and that would give us a higher NPV. If you do this for 30 years, this would be 30, and that would give us a much lower NPV for the year 30. So the cash that is coming in 30 years from now is worth less. Hope I explained it well enough. So that's how you calculate the NPV. You accumulate all the different cash flows per year to get the final NPV. So let's take a look at the old feasibility study. So here you had the production. So they started with 600,000 for 2 years. Then they go to the 5 million for 5 years. And then they go to the 25 million for the remaining years to 36 years of mine life. So the revenue that comes in here, that is this number multiplied with the FOB price. So for example, here the FOB price was $25 per ton. So then you would do this times 25. So if you do 25 million times 25, then you get 600 million, right? You can do the calculation yourself. That's based on the FOB price. Then we have some costs, production costs, and then we get the EBITDA, which is around 400 million per year. So that's operating profit here, some royalties, depreciation that needs to be done, profits before tax, then you subtract the income tax, and then you get the net profit. So this is the amount of money that will come in per year, 260 million. And this will give us an NPV of 2 billion. So use this formula and add all of these net profits together, and then you get 2 billion using the 8% discount rate and the different years. So that's the 2 billion here. That's for 36-year mine life. So now we do the same with the new feasibility study. So 23 million tons. Okay, some micronutrients added. So this is the revenue. And here they have calculated the freight cost, which is the 31 here, $31 per ton. And they have subtracted it, and then you have the net revenue. So that's this number here from the other slide. So that's the net revenue. And then they do the production costs, subtract that from that, and royalties, depreciation, income tax. So the same calculations. And eventually they get 600 million per year. And this for 31 years. And they get an NPV here of 6.8 billion. Okay, so how do we compare this? How do we compare these two tables? Well, that's very easy to do. We just create our sensitivity charts, and this is the sensitivity chart. So at this price here, 346, right? 346 sales price. We get an NPV of 2 billion. So that's this 2 billion here. And then we do the sensitivity analysis. You can find this in the feasibility study. And eventually you get this line. And for this new feasibility study, we use the sales price of 539. And that's this point here. And that gives us NPV of 6.8 billion. And then you do the sensitivity analysis chart on that, and you get this. That's for 31 years. So these both projects are basically almost the same mine life. and the same tonnage, but there are major differences. Because when you look at the current sales price, and the current sales price is around 1,400 right now. You can find that on the Verde website. They sell their product at 1,400 right now. Maybe there are some discounts, so it would be 1,200. Let's take 1,200. So then you get 10 billion NPV in the old feasibility study, and here we get 25 billion. So that's a double from the previous feasibility study. You can see that 25, and here it's 10. So that's more than a double from the previous feasibility study. So yeah, it's a much better feasibility study than the old one. Probably because of those micronutrients, and also because the NPV is much faster right now. This is very important. This formula is very important because you are looking at the cash flow that has been discounted by the years. Because for this one, the NPV is actually very low because you actually only get money in the company at year 7 and 8. So from year 7 and 8, the big money comes in. And yeah, but 7 and 8 years will give you a very low NPV because of that discount rate. So you need to wait 7 to 8 years to get that big money in. While in the new feasibility study, we get it from year 1 already. So we built the plant already in 2025. So this will give us a much higher NPV because you don't need to wait 7 years. You already get 600 million from year 1. So that's the difference here. And that's also why we get this different curve. So yeah, most important numbers you can find here. Freight costs, operating costs are actually pretty okay. And also we removed a lot of Capex, which also helped the NPV. Okay, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.